Hello, everyone. Beverly Christie here. I'm happy to be with you again today to talk about my ephemera. And again, as I say, don't call it a collection because it's more of a group of items that are spread about that make my life more interesting as I come across them. Last video, I talked about a calendar from the year 1886, and I hope you enjoyed that. Welcome to any viewers, new or old. Today I wanted to talk about some postage stamps. And as you know, postage stamps is a big field all on its own. It is ephemera to some degree. It is made of paper and meant to be used temporarily to post a letter or a package. But I have saved these. They came on a package that I received from eBay or Amazon, I don't recall exactly, but they were colorful. They were from New Zealand. The package was from New Zealand, so I kept them just as a curiosity until I could find out more about them. Anywho, I wanted to talk about this particular blue stamps in the lower corner first. It's a very pretty picture. It has I'll turn it this way so you can see Queen Elizabeth's profile is in the corner against the Australian flag. And it has the globe in the background and a fern leaf. And this was issued in 1995 to commemorate what was called the conference, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And it was the 14th meeting of the Commonwealth Heads of Government. So this would be like a big political gathering of heads of state. Queen Elizabeth did attend. This happened in Auckland, New Zealand in November. And it was attended by many. It was hosted by the Prime Minister at the time, who was named Jim Bolger. And it basically set out some rules or guidelines, if you will, for the heads of the Commonwealth nations, which of course is the British Commonwealth of Nations. And most of them had to do with adherence to principles of saving democracy, retaining and guarding democracy, and it set out rules for good governments and what the rule of law should look like and adherence to the rule of law. And there were even penalties, which is interesting, that could be ascribed to a particular nation for not following these rules. And these rules were called the Harare Principles. They provided incentives for the member to adhere to democratic principles. And they were established. The Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group, which came out of this meeting, was established to monitor and enforce adherence to that agreement. So sounds like it was a worthwhile endeavor back in 1995. And there's a sister stamp that goes with this one that more represents the world. So this one's really beautiful, though. I really like this. And the Queen Elizabeth profile is in shiny gold ink. Okay, so that was that one. This row of stamps right here on the bottom features a couple dressed in 1920s garb, a 45-cent stamp. And this was issued in 1992 in a series of stamps called The Emerging Years, the 1920s. So these were all about things that happened in the 1920s. And these are the entire set of stamps, which I'll bring closer. You see the 1945-cent stamp, and then they have different denominations representing, as I said, events from the 1920s. And most of the subjects are self-explanatory. The one was the birth of broadcasting. Another was the automobile. bringing freedom to the individual, the automobile age, and another represented the birth of aviation, and another was about a rugby team of some great note of the 1920s. This one here. And their name was the All Blacks, and they were called the Invincibles because obviously they were very good. The one that I found the most fascinating was the one in the bottom with the gentleman and the backpack. And that was the stamp issued to commemorate the swagman. Now, swagman, I'm not familiar with that term, or at least I wasn't, and I looked that up, and that is a term that referred to itinerant or migrant workers who roamed carrying their swag or their backpack on their back with a few belongings across Australia. It originated in Australia in the 1800s, and eventually the term got picked up in New Zealand and referred to workers there. A lot of the people that they were workers that walked from farm to farm or town to town looking for work. Some of them were down on their luck. A lot of them emerged during times of depression, which in Australia was the 1860s, 1890s, and they represented in the 1920s, so obviously that was an area, a time period of economic depression. So the swagmen often worked the wool industry, shearing sheep in the springtime. There was always a lot of work to be done during that season, and that's true both Australia and New Zealand. And for the rest of the time, they looked for other work or were supported by charitable individuals along the way. It's said that they learned survival skills from the Aboriginal tribes, so they needed very, very little in the way of belongings because they could make do along the road. And the song Waltzing Matilda, which really represents Australia, is about a swagman. And it represents their love of their anti-authoritarian values and their love of individual freedom. So that's still a beloved theme, and the swagman is a beloved folk hero down in Australia and New Zealand. And of interesting note, a Sherlock Holmes movie in 1946 called Dressed to Kill. There's a tune called The Swagman playing on a music box somewhere in this film, and it becomes the key to solving the mysteries. So obviously, Sherlock Holmes knew about Swagman because he knows everything, right? Okay, so anyway, the 1920s too, when we talk about the stamp itself with the couple on it, the phrase under it is 1920s flaming youth. That was a term given to young people at that time, and before baby boomers, there was a big influx of gathering together of the youth of the times to do things that identified their particular generation. And not that I remember this personally, but I know some of the things that they did were flaming youth. Associated with them was things like phone booth stuffing, goldfish swallowing contests, and wearing muskrat coats and causing all kinds of jovial things to go on. Okay, so those were the two of the sets of stamps. The third one I found also fascinating. You'll see there's a gentleman, and he's wearing a cricket uniform, and his name is Sir Richard Hadley. And these were issued in 1995, a series of stamps called Famous New Zealanders, of course. And before 1995, New Zealand did not allow living people to be placed on a stamp. They were all deceased, except for the royal family, but they were an exception. And in 1995, the government changed that policy. They were going to put living people on postage stamps, and they decided to involve the public in deciding who should be on these stamps. So they were. It was a mystery-shrouded issue. There was a New Zealanders were invited to vote for their famous kiwi that they wanted to see on a stamp, and so there was some voting, and they voted from a list of 221 celebrities, which were from the following 6 categories: science, medicine, and education, fine arts and literature, community leaders and social campaigners, the performing arts, sports, and service, business, and development. So there were 90,000 votes received, and after they were counted, nationwide unveiling happened, and it was announced in a popular television show at the time on October 3rd, 1995. So Richard Hadley obviously was a sportsman. He was a cricket player. And also of note, there is an extra little stamp. You can see if you look close. There's on the side here. This is a Terra piece that you can remove and put on a special card that you obtained when you bought your stamps. And it commemorates Stamp Month, October of 1995. So that was very interesting that a stamp comes with another stamp that you could remove and use as a collectible. So, and if you collected all of them, you could return the 10 tear-off tabs and send them in to receive a prize. So New Zealanders had a lot of fun with that, I am sure. So Sir Richard Hadley was born in 1951. He was a high-profile, high-achieving cricketer, and he was, I know nothing about cricket, but the description of him was that he was not only a great bowler, but a distinguished batsman and fielder, and he retired in 1990 and was also knighted in 1990 by Queen Elizabeth. So, again, I had these many items on this stamp, and I'm very faintly, I can see here in this area here that it's got the postmark, and it's barely readable. It reads November 25, 2016, I believe, or 2014. It's very faint. But I've had these all this time, and I'm not entirely sure what package came in this cardboard container that these stamps were affixed to, but I believe it might have been another calendar. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little tour of New Zealand stamps, and I will be coming again with, I may take you to the Bermuda Triangle next time. I have something quite interesting and large associated with my trip through the Bermuda Triangle. So please stay tuned to this channel, like and support it. I enjoy that you do that. I love comments. I read them all. And thank you again for joining me.